Not yet.
So,
Welcome to the Vegan Gym Live. I'm your host, Dr. Daphne Bascom, and we're excited to have you here with us today. If you're returning, thank you again for joining us. And if you're new here, our goal is to empower you with information to optimize your health and fitness and to live your best life as a healthy, fit vegan. We have been on a roll this month. Actually, but we've been on a roll since we started streaming in January, and I hope you've been able to join us live. If not, you can catch all of the replays on our Facebook page. But tonight, I have a special guest for you, and we're going to have a great conversation on intuitive eating with the one and only Coach Mislav. Mislav,
mhm.
welcome to the Vegan Gym Live.
Thank you, Daphne. I'm glad to be here.
Mislav, would you mind sharing your vegan journey with everyone listening and watching today? Why you became vegan, what does health and fitness mean to you, and how
Mhm.
you got to the vegan gym?
Well, I would say my whole fitness story begins with my elite rowing years. My sports career started with in rowing, so I was um, on the national rowing team of Croatia. Yeah, coming in hot from Croatia here. 5 years on the national rowing team, and then just fell in love with the gym and transitioned all my competitiveness and on my work ethic from rowing to the gym, and
Mhm.
then naturally, started competing in bodybuilding as well. During that period, I met a friend, like a gym friend. She was also competing in bodybuilding. So we met
Mhm.
in the gym, started talking, and what do bodybuilders talk about? About nutrition, right? What do you eat? all that stuff. So she was, for some reason, hesitant to share her story because she was actually vegan. Um, and then I worked hard to open her up a bit, and then she just said this one sentence that stood out to me, and that was, if I can do it without killing animals, why wouldn't
Mhm.
I do it?
Mhm.
And that kind of stuck with me, right? It stuck with me for like 2 weeks. I was processing that information, didn't know that it was even possible. It was like she opened up the door to the possibility because she was competing in bodybuilding and doing it on a vegan, on a plant-based diet. So one day, for some reason, when I open up a fridge, I just see I have seen the old like meat cutlets from my father and saw them as like animal parts, right? And it clicked for some reason, just clicked. Felt grossed out about it. Closed the fridge, and also connected, my dog, my friend, to the whole thing, and never went back. Fortunately, I already had all the knowledge to start it like that, like cold turkey, as they say, because I was already
Cool tofu.
as a certified coach, and I started to going to college for exercise science and physical therapy. So I had the background, and it was a quick shift for me. So that's what's inspired it. But of course, then I started to meet all the people that were experiencing health benefits.
Mhm.
So it started like a connecting in that way. And now, yeah, I'm 100% confident that we can not only make it work, but also flourish on a plant based diet.
Absolutely. And so you live in Croatia?
Yes, yes. I'm in the capital of Croatia, born and raised and still here. I'm not leaving that soon.
And how
No.
did you end up at the vegan gym?
Well, the thing is, during the lockdown, we all remember the lockdown. I was
Mhm.
kind of starting my own online thing as well. But then, because I was, trying to figure out like who is doing a similar thing, joining other vegan communities, joining groups. For some reason, I signed up for like the vegan gym community or some protein book, like protein recipes. I don't even remember. It was a long time ago. But then all of a sudden, an email popped like, we're hiring. So, oh, look at this. This is interesting, right? Because I always wanted to be part of the team. And I was a solo coach for like 12 years, lone wolf, as they say.
Mhm.
And just felt that I just knew that I can flourish and way faster as a coach if I had some brainstorming sessions with our coaches, right? The only brainstorming session I had was maybe a cup of coffee once or twice a month with a couple of colleagues.
Hmm.
But now I'm so happy that I'm part of this team because there's almost like 20 coaches in the VSA. We meet 3 times a week, we brainstorm for an hour, right? And I would never go back into solo coaching because you get that support system as a coach, but also as a client, you not only get one coach, but you get actually all the coaches that are working for you. And that's a really, really
It's
great atmosphere to be in.
and we are blessed to have you on this team.
Yeah.
So, this intuitive eating, you hear about it a lot, you read about it. Can you actually explain what intuitive eating is and what are some of the principles of intuitive eating?
Yes, perfect. Well, what first got me there, right? Bodybuilding competition kind of messed up a little bit my relationship with food and potentially with myself, right?
Hmm.
And I was naturally interested into learning. The moment I have heard about this concept of intuitive eating, and it was a period in my time when I was really into self development, and I was studying. I was going into a school for psychotherapy as well. It's like a
Hmm.
6 year long school, and it kind of connected and got me really interested in that. And also, fortunately, I was a part of a psychiatric team in the department for treating eating disorders for 5 years, especially compulsive eating disorder. Um, and they got me also into the intuitive eating because some of the principles from the intuitive eating book are used, some of them are used in the program. So I got naturally interested.
Hmm.
So I had quite a lot of experience with it, and I found it really, really useful. And I'm happy to share that knowledge that I learned over the years, how to make it work and what could be what how can you use those principles in practice and in your lifestyle.
Hmm.
So I would love to go over each and every one of them, and hopefully, if one of them sticks to you, I did my job. I did service. So let's explore the core principles. Okay, so the core principles of intuitive eating were developed by Evelyn Tribole. She's a registered dietitian, and they're essential actually for cultivating a healthy relationship with food and your body. There are 10 principles, and they're all mentioned in her book. And there's like a fourth edition, I think, now that I have read, and it's like an updated version. Every couple of years, they are updated. Yep, that's the one, Daphne. So the first principle is to reject diet mentality, right? So this principle encourages people to let go of dieting and the belief that there is a perfect diet or a perfect body. It emphasizes the importance of focusing on internal cues rather than external rules, as they
Hmm.
say. So it's so easy to get caught up in the food standards, food principles, food rules that we want to abide by, that we sometimes forget about our own authenticity, right? And to respect our own lifestyle, our own individuality, our own patterns that are there and that are working for us. And it's so easy to, get lost by trying to abide rules that maybe are not sustainable for you specifically. So I kind of like that they're bringing your own self and they're teaching you how to go with your own internal signals and make them work with sustainable, gentle nutrition and food standards that you want to do. And it's also so helpful to have a coach that will build you up those scientifically backed food principles and standards in the same way to connect them
Hmm.
in a more wholesome and holistic approach. So that's that in the nutshell with the first one. The
Okay,
second, yeah, okay. We have nine more, Daphne.
keep going.
uh, Second one is honoring your hunger, right? So intuitive eating emphasizes the importance of listening and honoring your body's hunger signals. It encourages people to eat when they are hungry and to nourish their bodies adequately, right? it's a can of worms, and we will fortunately unravel that one as well, how to do that. So let me just go quickly
Yep.
through all of 10 of them. Making peace with food. This principle encourages people to give themselves unconditional permission to eat all foods without guilt or judgment, right? Judgment. This is really important because you know what? Eating some sugar isn't like, I don't know, hitting a puppy. Bad example, I know, but it's not a moral thing. So you shouldn't judge yourself. You should just find how to make it work with your coach. So that thing, making peace with food, helps breaking the cycle of restriction and deprivation, which can lead to overeating or binging, right? Really, really important. Always the inclusive approach and not the exclusive one.
Right.
Um, Fourth one, challenging the food police. Intuitive eating encourages people to challenge the internalized rules and judgments around food and the body. So we are here promoting self-compassion and self-acceptance, allowing us to trust our own choices and preferences. Really, really important.
So not give.
Um,
Oh, I'll wait.
no, you can go, Daphne.
So that you mean not having that good bad food mentality in your head.
Exactly. And any kind of thought that's not working for you, right? Any type of thought that could trigger an unsustainable journey for you that you internalized, either through your even like parents as we were kids, or by some articles that we have read, or people shaming us, right?
Hmm.
Should you have that? Right? That's the one. Should you eat that? Those kind of little
Yep.
things, but they can be even bigger, more impactful things as well. So that's challenging the food police. Outside people, but also your own thoughts that were
Hmm.
internalized, that aren't working for you. Really important. Um, Fifth one, feel your fullness. So this principle focuses on tuning into your internal cues and stopping eating when comfortably satisfied. Right? It helps us develop a greater awareness of our body's signals and prevents overeating. Right? So I would say that here in VSA, we are really good at figuring out the sweet spot between not feeling hungry and potentially losing body fat if that is your goal,
Hmm.
and then never going into that zone of feeling exhausted, feeling hungry, so making it work. But then adding this layer of mindful eating a little bit more every once in a while helps empowers you actually when you're picking up those signals from your body and then stopping when you want to stop. Really powerful thing.
So
um,
when you say mindful eating, do you mean like me not eating in front of my laptop and actually stopping and enjoying my food and tasting it and being present?
that's a part of it. um, Another part of it is not letting some food standards, let's say an unsustainable caloric intake that you maybe read, or maybe it's a cookie cutter program that's not maybe made for you, or you were trying to figure out how much you need to do, or just starve yourself because you don't know the numbers.
Hmm.
Pushing yourself with an idea that you should, let's say, lose weight, and pushing through that hunger, and instead of figuring out where do you feel comfortably full and then stopping, right?
Understanding your own inner cues. Yep.
Yes. And sometimes that can get tricky, and sometimes we are not in tune with our body's cues, um, due to some restriction that maybe we had from the past. And
Hmm.
then tuning into your body while you're eating and soaking up the information from your internal signals is sometimes a journey in itself. Seventh one, coping with emotions without food. So this principle addresses
Tough.
emotional eating, right? By encouraging people to find alternative ways to cope with their emotions, such as practicing self-care, seeking support, or engaging in activities that bring joy. And I know this one for some of us can feel not achievable, really, like, yeah, oh my god, don't get me started kind of thing. But I have seen a lot of my clients being capable of building more adaptive coping strategies than their maladaptive ones. But yeah, we can have another call just only for that.
I was going to say that's a full 30-minute call.
I
Yes.
think no, I think it's a 12-week program or something like that.
Because we all do
Um,
it. I mean, even the
yes,
coaches, where coaches are not immune to struggling with some of these things too.
exactly. Well, I was one of them, right?
Mhm.
And because I healed from it, I'm 100% confident that it can be done, and I have seen it happening for some of my clients that were struggling with that in their beginning journey in VSA. 8.1, respect your body. So intuitive eating promotes body respect and acceptance, right? Regardless of size and shape, it encourages people to appreciate and care for their bodies, focusing on overall well-being rather than pursuing a specific weight or appearance. Now, in practice, I would say when you focus solely on the changes in terms of, oh, I want to lose weight, I want to fit in a different body, etc., it kind of takes up the mental space, right? So when you start focusing more on the health benefits, on the energy wins, all the things that start improving your life. Let's say when we are working out, we just feel better, right?
Mhm.
I know some of us can have like limiting of beliefs about working out, and we can unpack those as well. But when you start noticing the health benefits from the healthy habits that we are doing, then you are letting your body do its own thing, right? And it feels more authentic, and you just open up a different way of building up a different type of identity, a
Mhm.
different type of lifestyle, and you just enjoy the journey a little bit more. And you authentically start to choose more the healthier habits that you wanted to maybe force yourself into believing only willpower will bring you to that point.
Mhm.
Yeah, much more sustainable shift in the mindset of how
Okay.
you see your goals and how you see your achievements and results.
Okay.
Um, the ninth one is just exercise, right? Intuitive exercise, feeling the difference. This principle emphasizes the joyful movements and finding physical activities that just bring pleasure and energy. It encourages individuals to shift, right, from focusing the exercise and a means of burning calories, only
Mhm.
that, to one of self-care and enjoyment.
Yeah.
And we touched on that a little bit in the previous one.
Yep.
And then the 10th one, the last one, is honoring your health with gentle nutrition. Now, here come the food standards that we want to follow, right? So intuitive eating acknowledges the importance of nutrition, but emphasizes a flexible and balanced approach. It encourages people to make food choices that honor their health and well-being without like rigid rules or obsessions. And I would say just only this one, diets can, if you don't have the foundational knowledge, right, how to build a meal plan, how to make it work, you're kind of in this dark, you're left in the dark, right? So sometimes diets in themselves can be faulty, right? You're not getting maybe enough protein, you're not getting enough nutrition, you're not getting enough calories,
Mhm.
and we start thinking that the food standards or diets are bad, but maybe they weren't bad, right? Maybe they just weren't built for you specifically in a way that would work, right? So it's really important not to be afraid of how they call it in intuitive eating, gentle nutrition. I like to call it food standards that I want to live by, but they can be set however you want to be to set them, and you have your coaches to make figure out the most achievable way to set them, right? And that those are the 10 ones.
Okay.
So yeah. Mhm.
So, Mislav, thank you for sharing those. And so, for anyone listening, if what is the first step? So, where do I start? The 10 principles are great, but
Mhm.
where do I if I'm struggling with my relationship with food or my body, or I've been in a program and you know, I was like you for a long time. I was on the stage, and all I did was if I got my meal plan, that's all I ate. I did not deviate. But at some point, you have to live. So, how do
Yeah.
people start to learn to eat intuitively?
The that's a really good question, and there are two ways to approach it. If let's say if you have a coach or if you start your journey with a coach, personally, communicating with your coach and doing like a journal. It can be a daily journal, it can be a weekly
Mhm.
journal gives us the view of figuring out what works for you, what are some of the patterns that are repeating themselves and the
Mhm.
themes that are surrounding your journey, and then starting to pinpoint where are the resistances, where are the red flags, where are the habits that you find yourself repeating but you don't know why, right? Just unconsciously just don't know why, I just can't figure it out. And those are the most important ones we start unpacking.
Mhm.
So that's, I would say, the fastest way to approach it. But if you want to start dabbling into intuitive eating on your own, I kind of prepared a list of things you can start off with. So
Okay.
first one is starting the education on your own by reading the book. Right, it's called Intuitive Eating. You have shown how the book is called. The author is Evelyn Tribole. Yeah, there's an audiobook as well. I listened to the audiobook like I have 3 times, but I have incorporated the principles into my life, right, with a coach as well. So, but then the book will give you a deeper understanding of the principles and philosophy behind intuitive eating. Uh, if you want like a primer, if you're better with YouTube videos, there is like this YouTube video titled "In Understanding Intuitive Eating" by Susan Albers.
Mhm.
It's a 1 hour watch, but she's really good at communicating the message behind it. But that, but then it's actually putting it into practice. Um, so putting it to practice, rejecting the diet mentality, if that is
Okay.
the thing that you're struggling with, right? So now the beauty of coaching comes into place. If I start to notice by your journal or by you communicating your previous like history with dieting or working out, I have seen it a lot, unfortunately, with Weight Watchers, not to name any other names, but yeah, I don't get me started. But if that is the thing, then first thing is rejecting the diet mentality, right? And having someone or support system to help you out with that. Because it's sometimes really hard, right? To let go of the belief that there is a perfect diet or a body, and recognizing the impact of dieting on committing to embracing a non-diet approach, but to approach that's is serving you. Um, so that's one.
Mhm.
Then the second one, starting to honor your hunger, right? So just paying attention to your body's hunger signals and respond by eating when you are hungry, focusing on nourishing your body with adequate energy and nutrients, right? And the second one is making peace with food, right? So giving yourself unconditional permission to eat all foods without guilt or judgment. Sometimes this is a phase that we just need to go through if we got caught up with the diet mentality, right? So demonizing food, labeling them good or bad. Sometimes we just need to go through that overcorrection to see where our mind is and in which phase it is. How hurt are you actually from the diet mentality that you potentially had? So just enjoying a wide variety, having that freedom, enjoying that freedom, and letting go the labeling of foods as good as bad or bad. Uh, Challenging the food police we already mentioned, but sometimes it's so hard to do. So if you can remember that one, I think it's a good prompt. Food police, just becoming aware of those internalized rules and judgments around food and your body by practicing self-compassion, challenging the negative thoughts or beliefs about your food and your body. Um, Feeling your fullness, right? As well. That would be the next one.
Mhm.
Tuning into your body's fullness cues and stopping eating when you feel comfortably satisfied. That's the most important one.
Which
So
means
paying
not shoveling
attention.
it in fast, too.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes it's hard, right? And why is it hard? I have a really cool example. Um, the sadness of um, saying enough or being enough, right? And that shows up on our plate. So maybe you're sad that you need to stop, right? Or the sadness, or maybe you're in the finish your plate club.
Mhm.
Things that we internalized from the past that
Yep.
we are now observing that maybe served a purpose when we were kids, right? So the purpose of the finishing your plate club was I wanted to make my parents happy because I was a kid and my parents were happy when I finished my plate. So it served a purpose when we were a kid, but now when we are grown up, it's not serving the purpose anymore. But it's sometimes so hard to, let go of that internalized thought or belief. So that's kind of that in the nutshell. So feeling your fullness and stopping when you feel comfortably full, real important because it's bringing the power to you. It's empowering you once again as a person. Um, and then over time, authentically, you maybe are free up to do some other stuff with adding some food standards, new healthy habits, food choices. Who knows? But yeah, it makes wonders.
And so, Mislav, how did you, um I mean, you're starting to, and I'm gonna have to have you back on because I think
Oh,
this conversation is,
we barely
I was
scratched.
gonna say, this conversation is so important, especially given the diet culture that's so
Oh,
pervasive today, and the fact that it's hard to undo all of the subliminal messages that we get as men and women about
mhm.
eat less, move more, be thin, don't eat carbs.
Up
Um,
100%.
so how, if there's one thing between now and the next time you join us that you
Mhm.
want people to think about or to start to focus on, what would that one thing be?
To start to focus on, well, I think the most valuable thing, if any of the principles of intuitive eating sparked some interest, right? Something clicked, maybe something connected, one of them connected. Maybe it's a pain point in your life. Just to remember that the book was written after observing a lot of people going through the same thing and starting to just either by reading the book, listening to the book, watching the YouTube video that I spoke about, Understanding Intuitive Eating by Susan Albers, would be the first step, and then actually taking action with them, right? And I would say the most challenging part of the book is sometimes we are trying to figure things out. Sometimes we just don't know why are some things or habits happening in our life. It's almost like we don't know. Usually, when that thing happens, there's usually an underlying subconscious belief that's driving that habit, and we just don't know yet why it's there. Um, but then you can pinpoint that moment and start unraveling it. Why is it happening, right? More and more and more, and see if some of the principles help, but don't get caught up in all of them if you don't fully connect with some of the messages there. uh, so that's kind of my first step.
And how do I, this is probably not a question to ask at the bottom. I'm afraid. I mean, how do I eat? How do I not overeat? How do I eat intuitively and not put back the weight I've been working so hard to lose?
um, you what would what oh well, this is the thing about intuitive eating. We always ask the question, why are you afraid, right? Where's the fear coming from?
Mhm.
Usually the answer is that we have overdone things by restricting too much, right? So that's the fear that's coming from losing the power from yourself and giving it to like a food standard or a diet that's not sustainable for you, right? It didn't work, right? That's the thing. It didn't work, but you were following something outside of your body. So you're kind of losing the sense of empowerment and not trusting your body. So when someone tells you, oh, let's start eating intuitively, you naturally start thinking, oh, if I do that, like I'm going to go all over the place, right? But that's the overcorrection. Usually that's the overcorrection of a highly restrictive diet, right? Which we shouldn't have done in the first place, but we just didn't know. I was there, I didn't know, right? So we need to untangle that, and we need to detach from that and regain the trust in our body once again. And you know what? Like sometimes, yeah, sometimes we need that overcorrection period um, to start connecting more with our body. And yes, sometimes we will want to eat a little bit more, and that's okay, because in the long term you will trust your body more and more and more. You will start feeling more satisfied, and there is, and all the binging on overeating episodes that we have from restrictive diets will go away. Maybe it will take a month, maybe it will take a year. I don't care, but that's the work we need to do to trust our bodies once again.
And that is a beautiful place to end. Trust your body.
Yes.
There have been some amazing comments coming in, Mislav, and I know that we need to continue this conversation. So thank you so much for joining us today. Intuitive eating, I think, we've got you this week. Next week, we have Coach Emma at 6:30 p.m., who is going to be talking about comfort eating. We'll be talking with our one of our wonderful registered dietitian nutritionists, Taylor Carberry, on the last week of the month. So this month is about you and your relationship with food. And we are fortunate to have Coach Mislav on our team, who is a wealth of knowledge for all the coaches and all of our athletes about intuitive eating. And Mislav, we will definitely have you back in a couple weeks to finish off this conversation.
We better. We got a lot more, Daphne. I got a lot more.
I know. We could talk probably for about 2 hours. So,
3.
as 3 as we wrap up today's show, I wanna thank everyone who joined us. And remember, you are part of a global movement, and together we are getting closer to our mission of 1,000,000 fit, healthy, and compassionate vegans. Thanks so much for joining Coach Mislav and I today for this conversation about intuitive eating. I will have him back. It may have to be for an hour or so. But please share your journey, inspire your friends, and let's show the world the power of plant-based living. Take care, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.